Future, again, we orientate the person. We want to see where they're heading towards, and this is generally where they're facing. When we're mapping out our reading, we want the person to face in a direction that we know is the future. We also want them to face away from something we know is the past. And then wherever they are currently, that is where the present is located. Then we can get our time representation. So we have our clock again, we have our timeline, we have our flip clock. So any of those tools we can use in order to see how far in the future we're looking. So this would be more a case where we'd see an event, we would then link it to a time or see how far it is ahead. And sometimes what the people are asking is what is going to happen in the next 6 months. So what you can do is you can take your clock, you can move it 1 month ahead of time, you can see what you see around that area, what has changed, what is new in their life. One of the things that are really prominent with people is that we don't care so much about what is happening, we care more about what's different. And it's really much easier to pick up what's different than to what actually happened. So we can look ahead and we can say, in the next month, I see that there's a change. You change from, say, this state where you quite, say, sad or so, and where you now, in a month's time, I feel like that sadness dissipates and you don't feel as sad anymore. Or you could say, well, in 3 months' time, it looks like you are, a lot more confident in your skills that you're currently working on, and they are starting to pay off for you a lot better. So we can take any situation currently, take that person forward for that time, and then compare the two and see, well, what is different between those two people, the projection of the person into the future, and what is different to how they are now. Next up, we can look for something prominent. So we look for something that stands out, and then we can look around that age or that time and see, okay, well, what is it that really stands out for them? Are they making a big life change? Are they going to make a big move physically? Or are they going to change their relationship status? Are they going to have a new property? Or are they going to relocate themselves? Or anything that is different from where they are now. Right, what we can also do is we can look at the future in terms of the different aspects of the person's life. Currently, if we have the person facing forward, we could have people in their life to the right, the career in the center, and the alternative career to the left. And then what we can do is we can see, well, what is going to light up for them. I normally see a lot that with people in their lives, there's generally someone that looks like they're ready for them. And I also see, well, is that person coming closer to them? Is that person staying where they are? So meaning, is that person perpetually moving forward into the future for them? What is their interaction with it? And that is something that we can then explore. All right, so now we have a couple of dots or highlights that we see, and we could see that maybe there's, in the near future, we can then bring out our calendar and say, okay, in the next 8 months, it looks like there's some movement on the career front, not very much like you moving position. It could just be that there might be opportunities coming up at work. Those opportunities could be related with specific people, and then we can see later on, okay, well, there's a change with people, and we say, look, there's a change with people in your life. You might bring in somebody new, or you might change the status of a relationship with someone you're in with right now. And we can look at around that point and see, well, what do we see for it? Is there any change? Is there any movement? What's going to happen at that point in time? Also, very powerfully, if we have connection with one person and that works out in a certain way, and we have a connection with a different person and that works out in the opposite way, well, we could have, if we have two related events, then it makes it more powerful to see, obviously. So always a good idea to look at it from more than one perspective, not just to get one component of it there. The alternative career path, we can see maybe that there's another option coming up in some time, and that option presents new possibilities for the person, maybe an area of study they haven't considered before. Then this could then later on build into their career, so the career would then change. You say, well, you start to learn new disciplines or new hobbies or new things, and then after that you see your career change, meaning that this would be something that the person can consider then, and know that, okay, well, it'll be a good idea to pursue whatever they're busy with, that it could potentially pay off for them in the future. Okay, so what is really important about the future is that the future is changeable. If I'm heading towards impending doom and somebody says, well, look, your health doesn't look so good and looks like there might be some health problems in the future, if I then pay attention to this and I change my habits, I start to change my lifestyle, I start to exercise, or I start to eat differently, or I start to cancel a habit that I have, well, that could potentially save your life. So if you're telling the person, well, they could suffer dire consequences, and they get really scared and they take action on it, well, that's really what you want. So if you are going to look into the future and you see something changing for the person, if that person then acts on it and he takes action way before, then this could mean that his future prospects changes in that moment, and that whatever were going to happen, they can typically avoid. Other things also where you see there's nothing happening in the future, but this person puts a concerned effort into changing their lives, well, then typically that could change in that they could get some opportunities. So generally, one of the comments was that clairvoyant readings or psychic readings are not about predictions, and that seeing the future is more predictive type of thing, and a predictive element to the readings. So this is not always something that comes very naturally to people, and also it's not something that's very easy to get right. You can try this out and see how you fare with it. We're definitely going to play around with it, but obviously, because the future is ahead of us, we can't always get feedback. We can only hear from people later on if whatever they saw was accurate or not. Also, just bear in mind that the future does change. So even if we pick up something about someone, if it never happens, that could be because they took some action to avoid that activity, or that they changed their destiny in some way. Which would be great if we consider if a person could get into an accident, we warn them about an accident coming, that they could change their driving habits, and then changing their driving habits could realistically save them some hardships and some damages as well.